Welcome to the ASUG News Studio. My name is Tom Whalegum, Editorial Director of ASUGnews.com. Delighted to have Stephen Hardy in the broadcast studio right now. Welcome, Stephen.
Thanks, Tom.
You are the Director of SAP Value Engineering for Finance at PepsiCo.
That is correct, sir.
Now, we probably don't need to tell people what PepsiCo is, explain it, but actually there's a lot of diverse businesses you guys have. Can you just give us a quick overview of all the businesses you touch?
We have 22 brands that generate over $1 billion of revenue a year. Ones that you probably know, Tropicana, Gatorade, Quaker Foods. We've got Lipton Tea that we do with a partnership with Unilever, another SAP client. And also Starbucks, the Frappuccino shots and the bottled coffees. We have a partnership with Starbucks as well.
So very diverse.
Yep.
Very big.
Very big, worldwide.
You did a great session here on how PepsiCo benefits from benchmarking with SAP. And that's why I have you on. I want to talk a little bit about that because I think it's a very interesting topic. We can get caught up in value and talking about licensing and all the deployments thing, but you know, if you don't measure it, you know how effective and you're getting your money. So
sure.
You want to talk just a little bit about the SAP environment you work in, and then we can go from there?
Okay. Well, it'd probably be easier to tell you what SAP products we haven't installed yet, but in the course of the last 7 years, we've installed a SRM for indirect procurement, a CRM, trade promotions management, which we co-developed with SAP, all financial back-end systems, HR, human capital management, and across about 8 different business units, 3 divisions. So we're in the process, and also we have an international team. So I'm focused on North America, but the international team has about, I think, 30 countries live in SAP.
So it's a little footprint there.
Right.
Wow.
So our challenge was after the 7 years of effort, if someone were to ask us, you know, hey, did you achieve your business case? We didn't have a rock solid answer. Yeah, we think so. But since we didn't set up to measure anything specifically, we couldn't say with certainty. So that's why we started looking into SAP benchmarking services and some value engineering that goes along with that.
Did you try to do it internally first, or when did you turn to SAP, or were they from the get-go?
Well, actually, Pepsi and SAP had some, high-level, top-to-top discussions, senior executives, and one of the recurring themes was, hey, we want to make sure, especially as we scale out around the world, that we know that we're getting return on our investment. What do you guys suggest? And that's when they introduced the concepts of value engineering and the benchmarking services that they do.
So a lot of people probably have heard about it. What, as you see it or as you're using, can you explain both and how you guys are using it?
Sure. We use benchmarking, well, let's step back a sec. On our value engineering framework, we've got a 3-phased approach. Value discovery, so we're trying to identify the right projects to go after. Value design, we want to make sure we're doing those projects in the right way. And then value realization, where we want to make sure after go live that we're measure success, that we understand that we were successful. We gather KPIs and tie that back to the business case. And then we also want to measure user adoption. So make sure that the solutions that we've designed are being used as intended, and that could help drive further improvements down the road if we find out that the user base isn't exactly using the system the way we delivered it.
Right. What kind of a commitment is it from a resource perspective to participate?
To participate in benchmarking with SAP, it's very easy to do. First of all, I want to make sure that people know it's a free service. Benchmarking surveys were developed jointly by ASUG and SAP. All you have to do is contact SAP and ASUG to start to participate. What we are doing is we're coming up with an approach that takes the surveys that are out there, the ones that are most meaningful for PepsiCo, and then we kind of pilot them with small groups. For example, we just did a business case to bring human capital management to our bottling division and Canadian employees.
Okay.
We leveraged benchmarking services for that, the HCM HR benchmarking. It really took a couple of SMEs, subject matter experts from the business, senior leadership buy-in and support, and IT leadership buy-in and support. So a very small focused team was able to get through the HR benchmark in less than 2 weeks.
Wow. And
then the turnaround from SAP, which is now even enhanced with the tools, you can, with the new tools that SAP has, you can sort of build your own report from the survey, but we got results back from SAP in less than a week.
Wow. So what are these tools? What does it look like? What do you get from SAP?
Well, if you go onto their website, and my memory just went blank about what it's called.
That's all right. It's the last day of the show here.
There are resources. So if you do a search on benchmarking,
right,
you'll get to their webpage. They have benchmark tools. You can go in and take a look at the surveys themselves and the survey questions. It incorporates both questions about key performance indicators and best practices. Best practices are an attempt to find out how you measure up with some of the leading companies out there in your peer group.
Yep.
So for PepsiCo, our peer groups are normally CPG and companies of greater than 50,000 employees.
Right.
And the surveys are pretty focused, so they're not very long. We're in the process of building out a PepsiCoized version of the finance survey now.
Okay.
It's probably about 60 questions comprehensively. And
those questions go to?
Those questions would go out to the business.
To the users, okay.
To the subject matter experts that are part of the team that we're going to put together.
Okay.
And they have 2 to 3 weeks to respond to that. What we're doing with our value management framework is we want to make sure this time around, because we took a few missteps early, but this time around we want to make sure that we know who's answering the questions, what's the source of the data, their answer, to make it repeatable. Because our goal is to set a benchmark, I guess, if you will. I give another name, but to measure year over year changes and improvements, hopefully. And we also, the value management, value engineering team that I'm on, we want to pre-populate as many of those survey questions as we can and then bring them out to the business for validation. So there's certain KPIs that we can get by looking at the data in SAP and provide answers, and then the business just needs to validate it. So we're trying to make it as easy for them to complete it as possible.
Right. I mean, that's the whole thing. If you want to get, it's like the software, I guess, itself too.
Right.
You want to get people to use SAP software, ease of use.
Right. Well, and you want to make sure that the user community feels like it's not a huge burden to go after these benchmarks. Because one of the things that we're trying to do, I mentioned in our value discovery phase, we're trying to figure out the right projects to do. So utilizing the benchmarking data, we could say, for example, there's a KPI in the HCM survey that we did that showed as you scale the number of employees onto the solution, that HR professionals can save at least 20% of their effort that was currently in non-value-added activities, of transactional activities that they were taking on for the employee base.
I see.
So as you roll out the solution, and it's focused on employee self-service, manager self-service, some of those transactional type activities go away from HR professionals, and they can focus on bringing talent in and keeping talent,
Right.
as opposed to administrative activities about you and your performance measurement and stuff like that.
Great, very interesting. Last question is,
Sure.
you got fellow ASUG members watching. What would be your one piece of advice about those who are on the fence, who are thinking, well, I don't know if I should do it. What would you say to them?
I would say do it. Knowledge is power. One of the things that we also are doing is we're managing how we answer the survey. So, for example, we want to make sure that we understand good internal benchmarks. So we slice it so that we have various business units and divisions reply to the survey. And now with the new tools, and you're in control of the number of surveys that you do, we're able to get good internal benchmarking. So maybe we don't want to say, hey, we want to be top quartile in CPG, but we just identified that the bottling division does this really well.
Right.
We want the rest of the divisions to get to that level. And that way you sort of set that target up front, then you figure out the enabling technology that will deliver that growth, and tie that to the project and measure through to the end of the project and post deployment.
Great. Well, that's very interesting. Thank you very much for stopping by. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Check out more videos on asugonline.com as well as asugnews.com. Thank you for watching.